Sometimes I sort of buy stuff that will sit in my studio for years and I don't do anything with it, and then all of a sudden the stars align. Welcome to the studio. Who am I and what do I do? I am Thomas Brown and I'm a photographer, director, now doing lots of stuff with digital, sort of animation, AI, dabbling with CGI, just expanding what's possible with the still image. Come, let's go. I'm quite a contradiction really, as you might see in my studio later. But I like this idea of order and chaos combining. So there's this orderliness to something, but then sort of fucked up a little bit, so like roughed up a little bit. And I think that's kind of like a perfect analogy for photography as well. So this is my space, my chaos, where I keep all my bits and pieces. Having the things sort of around me and written on stuff and quite chaotic is my way of kind of keeping track of everything. And then being like, when there is a moment in between projects, being like, oh yeah, I remember that thing now because it's just sitting there. But yeah, this is where it all happens. A lot of desk time, a lot of time in front of the computer, which a lot of people don't really enjoy doing, but I actually quite like that kind of change of flow from the studio to this, where you can spend some kind of time really indulging and kind of really immersed in a project, kind of figuring stuff out for you then to like transfer that to the studio and hit the ground running, as it were. How would I describe my style is possibly one of the hardest questions anyone ever asks. Going back to what we were discussing before about trusting your instincts, that's how I know when my style is hitting, when I've achieved my style, is when my gut is telling me, it's like, oh, I like this picture now. We're there. I'm quite graphic, I'm quite clean. There's certain camera angles that I always find myself ending up at. Organics, that might be literal organics, so rocks and plants and flowers and things like that, or it might be sort of organic shapes, so with water, liquids, things like that, that kind of you go back to. I have a collection of mushrooms as well somewhere. They're pretty cool. I should show you those. I became kind of obsessed with mushrooms. Again, from after I had kids, this kind of like grown up and baby little family of mushrooms. But I've been collecting them ever since. Ta-da! I really want to do something with these, but I think it's just my sort of collector, sort of obsessive. Let me show you this too. This thing is mad. It's probably really dusty. It's an oversized educational model of an apple blossom, and it's got some little bit of slime on it from where I put snails over it and made a video. All roads lead to weird shit like this. Yeah, I think to push boundaries is really important to understand the past and the current and where the future could possibly be. I think because of that, you understand that photography sort of took over the role of painting, of sort of directly representing true life, as it were. Then painting became this more sort of abstract art form. And I think photography is now going through a similar process where CG can do a lot of what photography was able to do, is able to do. So there has to be a new reason to sort of pick up photography and to choose that as a tool. And I think that's the key thing, is to remember that it's a tool and it's a choice. Is it the best way to create the thing that's in your head, or is another route the best way to create the thing that's in your head? And always like assessing things from that sort of benchmark. And it's the same when it comes to AI as well. Yeah, so these are the mad things that you can get from Gen AI. And this was for a watch shoot for Port magazine. I generated the backgrounds first and then matched, when we had the watches in the studio, I matched the perspective and the lighting to work with these backgrounds. So when I was generating these backgrounds, I had to think like what's going to work really well with the watch. You know, what will complement it, what gives space, what works on a spread. So I ended up choosing one very similar to this, So there's like a perfect kind of cut down the middle of this kind of head, which is where the gutter will go when it gets printed. So do I think AI will replace photographers? No, I don't think it will. I'm really confident about photography as a medium. What's really important to remember is that you still have to have the idea and you still have to be able to edit what it gives back. It doesn't know good or bad. It has no sort of an inherent like taste or kind of skill for editing or anything like that. So I think that's where the photographer has their strengths, and I think specifically for still life, it's a real enhancement. It's where it kind of adds to the sort of the realm of possibilities that we can achieve now.
Okay, you want to do your chair slide now?